1, 2, 3, 4.
You are listening to the Online Time Fame Show. This is the Online Time Fame Show. Today's topic is the evolution of fame and the way fame evolved to what we know it to be today. Digital technology truly allowed fame to have reached that it didn't have before. The frequency and the availability changed. When you go back to the mid-1990s and the invention of the World Wide Web, fame compared to what the World Wide Web brought was much different. Before that, fame was radio, television, and print media. Print media was represented by newspapers and magazines. Magazines were probably a monthly release or bi-monthly, and obviously major newspapers were daily, every day. At the height of newspaper publication, you could get a newspaper twice a day. And major cities had multiple newspapers. So there were multiple newspapers being printed in the same cities. So print media was powerful at one era, radio was powerful, and they all still existed at the same time. When the .com era came, the digital technology era, that changed everything because it gave access to everyday people. The common man, working class people had more access to digital technology than they had to the so-called celebrity world. Celebrities were like a protected group. They were what you would call the elite group. They weren't the elite in terms of economics, but they were the elite in terms of notoriety and fame. Everyone knew who they was, and when someone was on a major network, whether it was radio or television or print media, it was thought that because they are here, they are probably supposed to be here. We saw what they could do. We recognized their talent. So in most cases, that was true. When you saw someone famous, it meant they had a talent that no one else had, and they had worked their way to get in position to display their talent. At later times, we found out that there were more talented people who never got the opportunity to rise in fame. They never were able to rise in economics as well. A lot of people who got the fame, we find out now they didn't have the economics. Because even when you're talking about television, the evolution of fame from television, it was a few major networks. NBC, CBS, ABC. Those were the main networks. Later on, Fox. But the main networks were the ones who provided people with opportunities that, famous people to be seen. Whenever they had a movie, whenever they had a project coming out, we saw them on television. Before that, obviously, it was radio. The radio era was very similar, and people were on radio and talk radio, and radio at one time was the only medium before television. But talking about when television came and the visuals came, you even talking about film. Film was extended to television. They were connected. But the point is the evolution of fame coming from radio to television. Print media was before radio. So we went print media, radio, television, and digital media. And all of those evolutions, all of those developments and inventions had an effect on fame. So fame exploded with digital technology, and the evolution of what fame is today and where famous people can be found is completely different. So this is the Online Time Fame Show, and we talk about the evolution of fame and where fame is headed, because fame has to be going somewhere, and right now we're seeing where fame is and where fame is going. Because when people say fame, they say fortune and fame, but everyone famous is not in a position to have fortune. Everyone is not wealthy that we see that's famous. A large amount of information today was regulated. Major companies regulate what's seen on their channels. Companies have a right to regulate their so-called corporate culture. So if they didn't want certain information to be promoted, those individuals weren't able to be on major platforms, major media outlets. So now major media is common in a digital format. We call it major media because working class people have access. They have a voice. So that's more of a democratic access. Democratic meaning everyone has an equal chance. Where when it was mass media, there was no need for an equal chance because everyone wasn't equally talented. See, now people can judge a talent for itself. One individual might say, I don't like him. I don't like her. They're not talented to me. But there may be millions of people who say they are talented. So now the evolution of fame, do we measure fame by standards of performance or who everyone likes? Because talent is talent. Singing is singing. There is an objective view and a subjective view. There is the way we look at it, and then there's the way it is. Because right now, everyone has to look at something for the way it is, objectively. But people have their own view, which is subjectively. That's their private view. They can say, to me, I think, I feel, to me, this individual is talented. And with digital technology, a lot of people support that. And that individual may be famous, and people can say, no, they're just as talented as this other individual. When mass media was controlled by corporations, the people still had a say because they listened to those shows, they supported the projects that those individuals had, and there were standards of excellence, there were standards of performance. Where today, the standards of performance are eroding, and people just can say, well, to me, that individual is who I like, and I don't care if they are called not talented. See, because even when you talk about music, music evolved in the United States from the country, from cities, from performing and supported performances. Church. The church was the educational place where people learned how to sing. This is where most people learned how to play instruments. And the church had a standard of excellence. It was an institution. Many institutions have a standard of excellence. Even schools and universities, they have a standard of performance. They don't just say because everybody likes it, it's good. They have standards of how something is measured. And they measure it by what came before. And that's movies, that's acting, that's theater. Everything had a standard. Whereas the digital technology evolved the celebrity. It evolved fame into what people think. But the standards of what happened between 1995 and 20 years later and what was happening for hundreds of years won't compare. The standards are still going to be upheld for excellence, even though people are overriding standards of excellence. And we talk about historic standards. People are trying to override and rewrite that. But good is good. Perfection is perfection because it is objective. It is what it is. It's not what we say it is. But people, they look at that. So that's the evolution of fame. The evolution of fame gives everyone an opportunity, but that doesn't mean everyone is good. At one point, mass media determined what was good. They would even ask those who they respected, is that good? And they would hire people, and people would say, no, that's good. Because the corporation was the business side. They didn't evaluate the talent. Whereas today, many corporate people put themselves in position, or they are in positions where they evaluate talent, and they might not know what talent is. They just go by, is it selling? Is it making money? Are there people supporting it? And that's a corporate mindset. This is the Online Time Fame Show, and we will say, stay tuned. Peace.